Okay, so here's the last video of the week. We're looking at expanding double brackets and changing the subject of the formula. And in this video, we're looking at changing the subject of the formula, which we did right back at the beginning of the year. So I know this is going to get a bit tricky, but hopefully now you've done solving equations and done other algebra work, you might find this a little bit easier. So really pay attention to the method and the working out, and it might make a bit more sense. Okay, so expanding double brackets, I know we've done in lesson recently, so this shouldn't be too much of a problem, but remember that everything in the first bracket multiplies to give with everything in the second bracket. So I've got the x times the x, then the x times the 7, so that gives me x squared plus 7x, then I've got the plus 3 times x, and the plus 3 times 7, so that's plus 3x plus 21, and then we know that the middle terms can collect together, so I get x squared plus 10x plus 21. Okay, question 2, very similar, but you'll notice that there's a negative sign involved here, so we're going to be a little bit more careful. So again, x times the x and x times the negative 4, so I've got x squared minus 4x, then the 6 times the x and the 6 times the minus 4, so that's plus 6x, and it's positive 6 times negative 4, so that's negative 24. And then again, once like before, we simplify the middle terms or just the x terms together. So I've got x squared. I had minus 4x, I'm adding 6x onto it, so that gets me to plus 2x, and then minus 24 at the end. Okay, so these are the questions that I really wanted to go through in this video, the changing the subject of the formula question. Now, earlier in the year, we did these using a function machine method, but now you've done solving equations, we should be able to understand this. And if you don't get what I'm doing, I want you to make a big comment in the videos below, in the comment section, or drop a comment on Show My Homework saying, didn't understand, change the subject. Because if you don't understand my method here, I really want to go through it in lesson with you and make sure that we really understand this. So let me get started. I'm being told to make x the subject of this formula. So what I want to do is get x on its own and move everything else away. So I'm looking and I've got a plus 3. Now, just like you were doing when you were solving equations, if I want to do the opposite of plus 3, that's minus 3 from both sides. If I have got 4x plus 3 and I minus 3, I leave myself with just 4x. And on the right hand side, I've got y minus 3. Now, again, I'm still looking to get x on its own. So what I need to do is divide by 4, because that's the opposite of timesing by 4. So on the left hand side, I've got 4x divided by 4. Well, the times by 4 and divide by 4 are opposite, so I'm left with just x. And on the left hand side, I've got to do a division, but it's got algebra in and all sorts, so I can't actually do the division. So I'm just going to write it as a fraction. Y minus 3 over 4. Let's look at another example. Hopefully this will begin to make a bit more sense. The more you see it, the easier this does become. Trust me, this is the easier way of doing these questions, but it will be a little bit of a shock to you compared to how we did them previously. So let's go for this question. I'm looking to make x the subject, so I need to move the other terms away. So I've got this plus 3t. Well, how do I get rid of plus 3t? I want to move the whole thing away. So how do I get rid of it? I'm going to minus 3t. And yes, you can take away a whole chunk of algebra together as long as it's staying together. So that 3t can move to the other side as long as you're keeping it together. So the left-hand side, I've got rid of the 3t. The right-hand side, well, 3t and y, they're not the same letter, so I've only got y minus 3t because I had y, and I'm taking away 3t, so I've got y take away 3t, and I can't do anything to that. I now want to divide by 4, just like in the previous example, divide by 4, and I get x equals to y minus 3t all over 4. Alright, you'll notice in this question there's a minus in front of the x, so I'm keeping some people in mind. Rebecca, I know you have a different way of doing this, and I know other people have different ways of doing this. So I'm actually going to do this question twice. I'm going to do it in two different ways because I know some people like different things. Hopefully, you'll see why I'm doing what I'm doing. So the question says 3t minus 4x equals y. So method one is we don't like negatives, so we're going to get rid of the negative term, even though it's the x. So we're going to move this. So I'm going to add 4x and add 4x. Okay, that's moving the negative term. So I've now got 3t is equal to y plus 4x. Then I'm going to minus y and minus y because I want to leave x on its own, which means I need to get rid of, I'll put that circle around the whole plus there, it shouldn't be. Let me undo that because that's really bad. That circle is just around the y. I'm moving the y because that plus sign belongs to the 4x. It's positive 4x. Nothing to do with the y. So I'm moving this y, which means I'm taking y away. So I've got 3t minus y is equal to 4x. And now I divide by 4. So I get 3t minus y over 4 is equal to x. Now, Rebecca's way. Alright, a way I actually quite like. But you've got to be fairly good with the algebra. So I'm going to show you this. So I want to leave the x term on its own. So I'm going to move the 3t. So I'm going to take away 3t, take away 3t. Alright? So I've now got minus 4x equals to y minus 3t. And we're going to divide by minus 4 and divide by minus 4. So x is y minus 3t divide by minus 4. Now that answer is technically correct. So you could just leave it like that. That's fine. But we're not big fans of a negative number on the bottom of a fraction. So what you can always do, and this is a little bit advanced, so don't panic, it is fine. You can times the top and the bottom of the fraction, both of them, by negative 1. Now what that does is it keeps the fraction the same, because you're timesing the top and the bottom by the same number, but the bottom of the fraction becomes 4, because you've done negative times negative. But when I times the top by minus 1, all of the signs change because the y times is by minus 1 and becomes minus y. And the negative 3t times is negative 1 and becomes positive 3t. And if you now compare that, we have the same answer as we had before. So this is the method that we had for solving equations with the negative in, but because you've got the negative on the bottom of the fraction, it is a little bit more awkward and complicated. So the method on the left avoids this process of having to times top and bottom by negative 1. Alright, the last example is one with a fraction in it. So remember, to get rid of a fraction, we need to times. So we're going to times both sides by h. So the left-hand side, that just gets rid of the fraction. So I've got 4x minus 3t equals plus 3t, sorry. 4x plus 3t is equal to yh. Then I take away 3t. So 4x is equal to yh minus 3t. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So x is equal to yh minus 3t, all divided by 4. Okay, so there's a lot of tricky things in this video. Here are 6 questions for you to try. Give them a good go, see what you get on with. Let me know if this is something that has caused you a bit of difficulty, if you have found it difficult. I expect maybe 6, 7, 8 people to be commenting below or putting something on Show My Homework if you don't have a YouTube account or don't want to make a public comment. That's fine. Just drop something on Show My Homework or even tell me in class, tell me personally, because I know that this is a difficult topic. Try these questions, see how you get on. If you get them wrong, let me know. And here are your answers. So, did you get them all right? Did you understand what we're doing? Did you like this new method? If you did, brilliant. Let me know as well. I really want to know if you found this helpful. If you are struggling, please let me know and we will go through it in class again because I expect this to be a tricky topic and one that you do want to kind of recover with me. All right, good luck with your revision. That's the last video for this week. I will put another one up on Monday. Um, I don't think I'm going to get a problem-solving question up tomorrow, just because I haven't got enough time today. I've back-to-back meetings, ladies. So unfortunately, you get a weekend without a problem-solving question. But we'll do some of them next week, and I will put a video up every day next week, even though it is half term for you. So make sure you're checking the channel and watching those videos. Good luck with your revision. I expect a lot of things. We're going to do really, really well.